brought to you by Manscaped. Over 2 million men worldwide have joined the movement for all their below-the-waist needs. Engineers for the last 18 months have perfected the greatest hair trimmer ever created, the Lawnmower 3.0. The third generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology pioneered by Manscaped. You can choose the Lawnmower 3.0 as well as other items by going to manscaped.com, and you can also save 20% by using the promo code State of Saints. That's manscaped.com. Use the promo code State of Saints and save 20% on the Lawnmower 3.0 as well as other Manscaped items. That's manscaped.com.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and want to say happy Friday to everybody. As you all can see, I'm at work at the radio station here today, and just wanted to talk a little bit about Drew Brees' decision. And this comes from the whole the whole viral thing that happened on yesterday, where you had so many people out there, that were putting out reports that Drew Brees was announcing that he was coming back for another year. And this story made its rounds, man. And it turns out that the article that people were putting out there came from 2020, but yet that didn't stop people from going out here and trying to create the narrative that Drew Brees has already made his decision. And, it's very, very discouraging to me that the story got that far. And I just put out a video probably, I say about 30 minutes ago, and I was talking about the importance of when people putting information out there to make sure that they actually fact check this information, because you have individuals out there that are going to run with the stories that you put out. That's one of the reasons why I try to make sure that, if I come out with a story, I want to make sure it's as accurate as possible. I don't just do it based on what people may send me, or have you seen this? Because sometimes people will send me like articles, and articles can be conspiracy theories more so than actual facts. Or it can just be, opinion news mostly, or, and don't have too much facts inside of it, and that's the problem that I have with the media in general, even with people in general, the power and that is taking on a life of its own, and that is sensationalism. Like, people aren't even caring about getting the story right anymore. It's about being first. Like, people want to be that first person to come every single time and come out with the news. Like, they want to be the first person to tell you that the worst thing that ever happened in your life has happened. They want to let you know that the worst thing that happened, in the world at large just happened. And they don't care about, getting the facts or doing anything like that. Before we get into the whole Drew Brees thing, I want to go ahead and use this example here. I was watching this movie last night, and I encourage everybody to check it out. It's called The 24. And they had one scene in the movie. I don't want to give it away, but I feel like it's justified for this particular situation. You had one military soldier that was beaten by a local townsperson. And one of the other soldiers that went there to try to defend the soldier that was beaten, he ended up being chased out of town. And they had this one guy who went back to the battalion. He went back to the troops and, went back to camp, told them that both of those soldiers ended up being killed, which caused the other soldiers to retaliate out of frustration and anger. And the thing about it is, the guy come running back to those soldiers at camp, he actually sparked this buzz and made those guys go out there and, really commit those crimes. So my thing is, we got to make sure that we are doing our due diligence, because people are taking our words for what they are, and they're not going back to fact check the facts that you are supposedly putting out there. So make sure that you have your ducks in a row, please. I understand that we want to be first, but let's just make sure that we are accurate as well. Okay, so I just want to let you all know about that, and make sure that y'all check out that movie 24th, because it was a really good movie, man. That and American Skin. But let's go ahead and talk about Drew Brees. Drew Brees has not announced his retirement yet. All right, so I just want to go ahead and let you all know about that real quick. All right, he did not announce his retirement at all. Okay, according to Sean Payton timeline, he should be coming out this week with his decision. All right, and even if he does not, I mean, what's the problem with waiting? Like, why are we so why can't we wait? Like why are we just trying to force this situation? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is it that we just can't wait for a guy to make up his mind about what he wants to do and what he has done for the last 20 years of his career? Like, why we can't do that? I have absolutely no clue. I don't know why we can't do those things. But me, I'm willing to wait. Okay. Do I feel like Drew Brees is going to retire? Yes, I do. But do I want him to, do I want to rush the news out there and say, oh, yeah, he's going to retire. He's going to retire. You know what I'm saying? So I can feel like I'm ahead of the curve. Absolutely not. You know what I'm saying? I'm willing to wait for him to come out with his decision and then act accordingly. And I feel like everybody else out here needs to wait for him to make his decision and act accordingly. And also, I understand that you have a fair share of people in the Who Dat Nation that are waiting for Drew Brees to retire. Rather you felt like he should have been gone a long time ago, or whether you just got tired of him coming back and you feel like he's holding the organization back as a whole. But look, I'm not going to go ahead and be like everybody else and forget about the moments and the times that Drew Brees gave us happiness here in the Who Dat Nation. And I'm definitely not going to judge a man based on the last 3 years of his Deming career. I mean, I say this all the time here on the State of the Saints podcast, that if you live long enough, rather you're one of my younger viewers of the podcast or you're one of my older viewers of the podcast that may be able to attest to this, you're not going to be as fast as you once were. You're not going to be able to jump as high as you once did. You're not going to be able to do some of the things that you normally would do once you get a certain age. And it just happens. That's just a part of life, I mean, I can think about me being a kid, man, coming out of high school. You know what I'm saying? I was extremely fast. You know what I'm saying? I was extremely athletic. I was a dude that had probably like about a 37, 38-inch vertical leap and ran a 4.5 40. But you ask me to run a 40-yard dash today, I guarantee it won't be a 4.5. And these days, my feet don't leave the ground. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we come to, man. It is all a part of life. And I just think that sometimes, like, our heroes, they become human. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think about that movie, Remember the Titans. I know it's Friday, and I'm coming out with a lot of movies, but I think that this is also suffice. If you ever seen a movie, Remember the Titans, that's a classic, right? You had Julius, who was the black lineman who became friends with Gary Bertia, and Gary Bertia ended up getting into a car accident. And Julius ended up going to the hospital to see him. You know what I'm saying? And when he saw him, in that hospital bed, he told him, like, that he won't be able to walk again or whatever. And Julius said, no, like, you're Superman. Like, you're Superman. This can't happen to you because you're Superman. And he was like, he was like, I couldn't believe it. And I think a lot of people feel the same way about Drew. He's been our Superman. You know what I'm saying? He's been that guy that no matter what the situation is, whether it's a good situation or a bad situation, he's helping us. You know what I'm saying? We know that we have a chance. No matter what the score is, we had a chance. And now at the age of 42, he's not be able to deliver like the way that he once did. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I'm willing to wait for Drew Brees' decision. I'm not going to hold the last couple of years. I'm not going to hold that against him. I still feel like he had an incredible career, and he has legitimized the Saints franchise. I stand by that. Watching as much Saint football as I have in my 34 years of existence, he definitely has legitimized the Saints organization. So that's the way I feel about it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I'd like to hear what you all have to say right now. Let's go ahead with 985 Live. 985 Live said Drew wouldn't play for 1.5 million. 985 Live, thank you very much. The writing is pretty much on the wall here. I mean, you can do the math here. I mean, you can put 2 plus 2 together, right? So what's the difference on waiting for a couple days for him to actually, just come out here and confirm it? Nothing wrong with that. Keith Young says just one more run. Them haters want you to go. Look, I don't think it has nothing to do with the haters because Keith, I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I guess I fall into that category as one of them haters. I just feel like Drew Brees does not have anything to prove. And I think if we actually just look down deep inside, it has absolutely nothing to do with Drew Brees himself having something to prove. I think it has a lot to do with how we feel about this organization and what he represents. What he represents is a winning culture, a culture that the Saints barely had. I mean, there were few and far in between before he got here. Consistency was another characteristic that we have. And I just think that there's this fear among the Who Dat Nation once Drew Brees retires, then we're going to go back to being that snake-bitten franchise that people laugh at every time they hit the field. But I have confidence in this organization, and even if they just so happen to have some dark years ahead, that's not going to stop me from being a Saints fan. I think all organizations go through hard times. I think that when we look at the New England Patriots and we see their success over the last 20 years, I mean, you look at Tom Brady leaving there. I mean, we look at that and we're like, man, that might happen to the Saints. But look, all things must come to an end. All situations, have to change from time to time. I believe in this organization. I love Drew Brees. He means a lot to this Saints organization, means a lot to me as a fan. But I've been a Saints fan way before Drew Brees was even in the National Football League. And I'm still going to cheer for the New Orleans Saints regardless. But I just think deep down inside, us saying we want him to make one more run has a lot more so to do with us as fans, more so than us wanting to see him run out of that tunnel one more time. Our team going to be explosive coming this new season. Who that? I believe that, but I'm a Saints fan, so I'm biased. Let's race, TJ. We can race, man. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not as fast as I used to be. I'm not as fast as I used to be. I know I can't jump as high as I used to be. I was a really good athlete at one time, man. Not that I'm trying to be like on some Al Bundy type stuff, telling y'all about how I scored 4 touchdowns in one game for Polk High, but man, I was a really good athlete, man. Like at one time, and I really felt like I was the truth. But all things must come to an end. Yep, it's time to move on to the next era. Let's go ahead and go down a little bit. Mentality, he's still sharp. Physically, Breeze is done, bro. Period. Well, it depends on how you feel, what your definition of done is. All right. Do I feel like he can still play the quarterback position at a high level? Yes. Can he do it game in, game out, week in, week out? No. You know what I'm saying? So with that, I just feel like that's your answer. Can you sustain success and elite quarterback play over a 17-game season? Yes, I said 17 games because this is the first year they're going to have 17 games in the season. So, well, he still has noodle arm though. Well, look, man. Like I said, everybody can't be what they always been. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that. Alfred says, so how would you feel if he did come back and did his thing one more time? You riding with it? Well, I have no choice. Like I'm a Saints fan. I'm a root for the Saints. I don't care who they put out there. They can put Drew Brees, Stoney Case, Trent Dilfer, Billy Joe Hoover, Billy Joe Tolliver. You know what I'm saying? They can put my boy Nate Peterman out there. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still gonna cheer for the Saints. Like that. There's really no deal breakers for me here. You know what I'm saying? Like rather the creme de la creme, they're just just one of the worst teams in the league, I'm still gonna root for the Saints. I'm still gonna be saying who that. My allegiance don't come with stipulations. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to be like some of these new age Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. Not all of the ride or die Buccaneers fans, but I'm talking about the ones that just jumped on board when the train was moving, when they seen that they had enough code to power that train to make it go as fast as it can. Here we go. You know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and hop on this train. Okay. I'm not trying to pick up the trombone or the tuba or the snare drum and join the band. You know what I'm saying? I'm in this thing for the long haul. While y'all picking up picking up the instruments out the band room, man, my instrument been clean. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I've been put the brasso on that thing. You know what I'm saying? I've been cleaned out the mouthpiece. You know what I'm saying? I've been emptied the spit trap. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been in a band. So, you know, there's no deal breakers for me here, man. There's no deal breakers for me. TJ's Kitchen. Thank you very much for $2. Says finally I get a chance to shine. Actually, that's not my kitchen, man. These are actually cabinets. These are actually cabinets, man, that are in here, and inside these cabinets are like old equipment that the station has had over the years, man. This station has been here in this spot since 1987. So we have a lot of older equipment in here. You know, I mean, I joke about it all the time to the station manager. I said, man, if they wanted to like do like a movie from the early 1990s, like they wouldn't even have to go out and try to find like different items. You know what I'm saying? If they was to do a movie about a radio DJ from the 90s, like there's so much stuff up in here, like old turntables and they had like, you know, before they started making CDs and stuff like that, and now, you know, we're digital. You know, they used to have to flip out the cassette tapes. I mean, they still got stuff like that up in here. So yeah, that's what the cabinets, you know, that we put in here, that they have like old equipment in there. It's pretty cool, man. Like I always enjoy like looking at some of this stuff, me taking trips down memory lane. Well, I won't say memory lane, but learning about these things, like when I be cleaning up rooms at the station. So pretty dope. My mom says, I think the team has learned some lessons about winning and they want that feeling again, with or without Drew. Drew has shown them what can be possible. Yeah, that's true, man. You know, that's a good point. And I'm not saying my, you know, in a disrespectful way. That literally is my mama. You know what I'm saying? So if y'all, you know, y'all see my mom in the chat, Carolyn Jones Smith, man, y'all give her a shout out. But anyway, yeah, man, I mean, that's true. You know, that's a good point there. You know, it's almost like you know, I use the example, you know, when Moses led the children of Israel, you know, to the land of milk and honey, right? To the land of Canaan. You know what I'm saying? He took them as far as he can go. And then he appointed Joshua, you know. Thank you for all the people that corrected me on that. Don't tell granddad I got that wrong. But anyway, anointed Joshua to lead the people, you know, into the land of milk and honey. You know what I'm saying? Like he brought them as far as he can take them. You know, like, you know, now it's time for somebody else to pick up that staff and carry them the rest of the way. That's just what it is, you know, like, so there's nothing wrong with that. Savandra says, until he gets us a definitive answer, we can't prepare to keep Winston or look for someone else. Savandra, thank you very much for your comment. Look, I tell people all the time, like, let's not get it twisted, folks. They know way more about what's going on than us. All right. I mean, it's almost like when politicians come out, when politicians come out and they talk about different things, trust and believe, they didn't have this conversation about how they want to present the information, the tone they want to present the information, how much they want to give us, you know. So it's kind of the same way. Like, trust and believe, like, this organization knows what Drew is going to do. You know, they know, and they just don't feel like it's their place to tell the people. They feel like it's his time, you know, wherever his decision may be. So they don't want to intrude. So we as fans, we won't know everything. They don't feel like we need to know everything because we have learned. You know, if you've been following Saints football and any other team football, like when the media gets their hands on information, they can exacerbate it. You know what I'm saying? They can blow it up. And we talked about at the beginning of the show about the power of sensationalism. You know, you got those shock jocks that be on your local television every morning on these debate shows, and they giving you their opinion and they're disguising it as facts, right? Opinion television is the new wave right now, folks. You know, a lot of the times we feel like we're getting the information, but we're actually getting a person's opinion, and it is basically being spent into actual facts, but they don't be, right? So teams are very, very careful what they put out there in the atmosphere because they try to protect their organization, they try to protect their players, they try to protect their personnel. And there's certain things that they don't want to know because they know what the media can do with that type of information. So I'm not mad. I'm not mad at them for doing it. No 1974. Thank you very much for the 4.99. Chemo giving a shout out to my mama. Bomb and says I need Brees one more year. Okay, I mean, a lot of people feel the same way you do, my friend. Carolyn Jones Smith, I be ripping them is my favorite commenter. Well, thank you very much, Ma, for that information. Let's see. TJ Skyzilla says Breeze is done. My mom's giving a shout out to everybody. Dada Saints #1 says morning fam. Paul says now it's time for him to go. We love you, but his arm is worn out. He don't have the strength any longer to get the ball down the field. Well, you know, a lot of people feel that way, you know. And, you know, I'm starting to fall into that category. You know, it's not so much about his arm. I just look at the talent. You know what I'm saying? I just look at the consistency. Like, I don't want erratic quarterback play from Drew Brees because we're not used to that, you know. And I just feel like you're not going to be what you used to be, but you won't be able to sustain that type of success as long as the team needs you to. And even if you get them to a good record, like what's going to happen when the game speeds up and you have to, you know, you have to go faster. You got to, you know what I'm saying, go that extra mile. Do you have that extra gear? And I talked about it on the last podcast. I just don't feel like the Saints have that extra gear. So I'm gonna keep it real, TJ. I don't think Drew deserves to retire on his own. I said time for the Saints to make the first. I've Drew being 42 and the Saints not having a clear answer after him is kind of embarrassing for real. Okay. I'll put it like this. Hold on 1 second, folks. All right. I'll put it to you like this. All right. I don't feel like it is embarrassing. I don't feel like it's embarrassing because here's the thing. I said this before. We're so spoiled in the Who Dat Nation because we have had nothing but consistent quarterback play for the past 15 years. And with that comes, you know, much more easier decisions to make at that position. You know, if you're still playing at like Drew Brees being average is still better than most quarterbacks average. I'm going to say that again. Drew Brees being average is still more higher and more elite than an average quarterback's average. So even though we've seen a little bit of a drop off, he still was playing at a higher level enough for you to say, well, you know, he still has a little something left. And it also gives you an opportunity to go out here and put some things around him to have that win now mentality. So I'm not mad at that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad at the New Orleans Saints not going out there and pushing the button. You know what I'm saying? Going out there and relinquishing him or going in another direction because Drew was still putting up some big numbers. I mean, once upon a time, a couple of years ago, man, Drew Brees was in the MVP conversation until about week 13, and then he kind of tapered off, and they end up giving the MVP award to Patrick Mahomes. But those were the two that everybody was talking about, man. I mean, even last year, you know, in the month of December, Drew Brees had 15 touchdowns, 1 interception going into the playoffs. And that's some really good numbers there, but we all are so focused on the end result. And we have to be careful because the end result sometimes warps our judgment. Like, if Drew Brees would have got us over the hump, we would not be having this conversation. We would not be speaking in the same type of tone. We would not have the same ideology as we have today. If Drew Brees would have got us over the hump, if we would have beat the Bucks, if we would have beat the Packers, and we would have ended up beating the Kansas City Chiefs, then we wouldn't even be talking about Drew Brees and talking about his shortcomings and his failures. Like, we wouldn't even be talking about that. And if I was to have a show about Drew Brees actually having about his shortcomings, then somebody will look at me and say, "Man, we just won the Super Bowl. What you have to complain about?" So to me, I'm not mad at that. You know what I'm saying? Because the numbers that he was putting up, the quarterback play that he was putting on the field wasn't bad, wasn't terrible at all. It wasn't terrible enough for you to say, "Man, we need to go out here and get somebody else." Keep in mind here, let's look at the timeline. All right, in 2017, the New Orleans Saints looked at a quarterback by the name of Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs jumped in front of the Saints, and they ended up getting Patrick Mahomes. The Saints ended up getting Marshawn Lattimore, right? But you look at that 2017 season, I mean, Drew Brees still was playing pretty doggone good. You know what I'm saying? He had a real high number of touchdowns to interception ratio. I think he was almost in single digits. Then you fast forward to 2018, Patrick Mahomes, like, first full-fledged starting year, he wins MVP, but Drew Brees was runner-up for that MVP trophy. 2019, Drew Brees throws once again 15 touchdowns, 1 interception after missing 5 games due to injury. And he comes back and he's still playing at a high level. So when people are talking about, man, they should have seen the writing on the wall, well, why? You know what I'm saying? Because of playoff performances, right? Because that's the last image that we have. Because of playoff performances, you cannot judge a person on the last game or the last thing that they actually did and just can forget about the entire totality of the work that they put in. You cannot do that. That ain't fair. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about this, man. If you work for 8 hours, right, and 7 hours you was going at it, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you was putting it all in, and then all of a sudden, let's just say if you're working on an assembly line, right, and for 7 hours, you know what I'm saying, none of the items hit the ground. You know what I'm saying? Going into the 7 hour and a half minutes, the last 30 minutes of your job, items start to fall on the floor. Like, you know what I'm saying? Should you be fired based on that? You know what I'm saying? Just because you let maybe 1 or 2 items drop off the assembly line. You know what I'm saying? Should we forget about the 7.5 hours that you put in of good work? Would you want your life to be judged like that? Absolutely not. So why are we judging Drew Brees like that? I don't feel like that's fair. So I feel like the New Orleans Saints, in their decision to not be so quick to try to get another quarterback, was because Drew Brees was still playing at a high level. So I'm not mad at that decision. Like, you roll with what you got, We gonna sweep Tampa this year with James. Brees' physical mechanics may be a bit rusty, but his mental awareness is still superb. The man can still play. His only dilemma is throwing over 40 yards. Rockwell, that's a good point right there. But here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. When you get into the postseason, you get everybody's best. And with everybody's best, they become students of the game. And the things that you lack and the things that are your shortcomings, they're going to be able to exploit. And if you don't have that second gear, then you fall right into those team traps. You can't go into the playoffs playing like you did in the regular season and think that that is going to be the recipe for success. Now, fundamentally, fine, right? You don't want to be too high, you don't want to be too low. That should be your motivation every single game. But you should have that extra gear when teams are doing something and they're taking advantage and they have really stepped up and stopped you from doing the things that made you successful throughout the regular season. You need that extra gear to say, okay, you know what I'm saying? We got to step it up. We got to change it up. And this is what we worked on, you know what I'm saying? Just in case they have our number when it comes to us, doing this particular thing. The Saints don't have that. And that's what they've been kind of, lacking. And when you have a quarterback that can only do so much, you know what I'm saying? Like it's tough. You know what I'm saying? It's tough to do that. And look, Drew Brees is extremely smart. He's extremely intelligent. There's not a defense Drew Brees hasn't seen. There's not a scheme that Drew Brees won't be ready for. But here's the thing, man. Like you gotta have different nuances in your game to be able to adapt to what the defense is doing to you, I should say. And that hasn't come into play in the postseason. Good example, but if it keeps happening, then the boss will lower the hours of production for that worker. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I'm just saying if that's a good point right there. But I'm looking at it like, okay, you're saying if it keeps happening, but here's the thing: you know what I'm saying? Are you basing Drew Brees' performance on the postseason alone, or you're just basing it on his overall body of work? You know what I'm saying? Like you can't do that because then you have to ask yourself, like, how did they get there in the first place, right? How did the Saints get to that point in the first place? Well, it was because of the quarterback player Drew Brees. You know, there were some games where Drew Brees had to carry the Saints. He had to have, they had to do something. He had to do something in order for them to win some games. So we can, like I said, if we're looking at, we got to look at the entire body of work. You can't just look at a person's shortcomings and say, therefore, they're bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because they can't do this. Like, I don't feel like that's fair. I don't. You know what I'm saying? And you can't judge a guy based on, I don't know, just, you know what I'm saying, like a couple years of, you know, unsuccessful playoff runs. Like, like once upon a time, like, I mean, this guy carried this franchise. So it's hard for me to just sit up here and just criticize the dude and just be like, man, good riddance, goodbye. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm more on the lines of I want him to retire because I don't feel like he has anything else to prove. And then on top of that, I just feel like he's at this point, he's only going to make his legacy worsen more than make it better. Like we all know, like statistically, like he is the stat king. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just the narrative right now. He is going like the media has already anointed Tom Brady. I mean, and it's warranted, the greatest quarterback to play the game. You know what I'm saying? You already got Patrick Mahomes as being the leader of the new school. So you already got Drew Brees as being the undisputed stat king. So unless the Saints about to go and win the Super Bowl, if he comes back again, I mean, he's basically just doing more harm to his legacy than good. I mean, that's the only thing. You know what I'm saying? If he can come back and you can guarantee that they're gonna win the Super Bowl, then fine. It helps his legacy. But all these quick, grand opening, grand closing playoff runs are only gonna make things worse. So I think if we run the ball about 70% of the time, this team would have been to the Super Bowl. So this season, I'm hoping we run the ball, we get more turnovers on defense, and Jameis shows off his arm talent. I think you'll see a combination of that. I think you'll see more run than pass because Sean Payton has to develop trust in the quarterback, no matter who it is. Like, I just think that people get things misconstrued sometimes. They just feel like Sean Payton and Drew Brees just had this relationship where Sean just came out the gate trusting Drew. That is not the case. I often talk about Drew at training camp at Millsaps College back in Jackson, Mississippi in 2006. And Sean Payton was looking at, the front office like, man, did we make the right decision with this guy? Like, because Drew was kind of erratic, and the trust in Drew came over a course of time. Like it came through, winning games. It came through clutch situations. But what I'm saying, for the most part, he was relying on, people like Reggie Bush and Pierre Thomas. You know what I'm saying? Guys like that, Deuce McAllister, at the beginning of Drew's career. You know what I'm saying? And then they start to kind of open it up. You know what I'm saying, with the deep passes and the aerial attack. Once he had more confidence in Drew. So I think you're going to see more emphasis on the run, and it's also going to take whoever the quarterback is some time in order for him to develop a trust in that quarterback. So I think you're going to see more emphasis on the run. I mean, Payton is built on trust. Like he wants the guys that he can trust. And I mean, look no further than Alvin Kamara. You know what I'm saying? Alvin Kamara has enough skins on the wall that Sean Payton trusts him. And I mean, there was an article that came out a couple months ago that talked about how Sean Payton actually used a play that Alvin Kamara suggested, and that's kind of hard to do, man. Like coaches ain't trying to go out here and trying to run plays that certain players call, you know what I'm saying, especially a running back. So for him to do that, you have to have some trust in him. So I guarantee you're gonna go with the guy that you trust the most, and look no further than Alvin. Drew Brees is football's Tiger Woods, absolutely best ever, and no one else comes close. I have to tend to disagree with that one, Josh. I like Drew, but I love Drew, but he's not the best quarterback that ever lived. You know what I'm saying? Like he's the best quarterback the Saints have ever had. I mean, that goes without saying, but the greatest quarterback ever, nah, I disagree with that. Most accurate quarterback ever, statistically, the greatest quarterback ever. But as far as the greatest quarterback ever, nah. And to me, you know what I'm saying, I still feel strongly that Joe Montana is the greatest quarterback of all time. I understand that Tom Brady has won 7 Super Bowls, and that's cool and all, but when you look at the adversity of a Joe Montana and what he had to deal with at the quarterback position, guys basically can German suplex you on the field, go after your head, go after your legs. And you look at Tom Brady, I mean, the rules are kind of, cater to him. I mean, to a point where he can play it this long. If you put Tom Brady in the era with Joe Montana, I'm not going to say he wouldn't win those Super Bowls because I still feel like he's a good quarterback, and he falls into that mode of what the older quarterbacks used to be. But I don't think he wouldn't be playing this long. So Joe Montana, to me, holds that distinction. But Drew Brees is definitely one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I think the Saints need to really stress rebuild mentality. Given our cap problems, we need to hit on the draft like we always do and build on that with young talent. Damon, I don't look. No team is ever going to embrace rebuild. Okay, not any successful franchises. And when you have won and garnered and generated, that's the word, generated this much success over the last 4 years, you ain't thinking about a rebuild. You're thinking about, re-upping. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not thinking about that. And the Saints are thinking about a re-up. And I do agree with you on this, Damon. I mean, I 100% agree. I'm a team builder guy. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm playing Madden and I'm on franchise mode and I'm creating a coach, my coach is going to be a team builder. Okay. And even what I do is, man, I'm gonna be 100% real with y'all. When I'm playing Madden on franchise mode, I the first year I simulated, right? I get rid of like all of the talent. I don't really play with the Saints. I play with like one of the worst franchises. Like I play with the Jets or something like that. And you know what I'm saying? Like I take like all of the talent and I basically just give it, you know what I'm saying, give it away and you know what I'm saying, use it for trade bait and stuff like that. And then I just start to rebuild my team. Now I'm saying that to say I'm just a firm believer in the team building process. Like I don't feel like you have to get a whole bunch of free agents and getting I don't know Richard Sherman on one side, Josh Norman on another, Kenny Galladay on one side, and Michael Thomas on another, and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just exhausting your expenses to try to bring all these guys in. I'm definitely a firm believer in building a culture. And when you building a culture, you bring guys in that are young that you can mold and shape, and they can turn into constant and constant pros. They can turn into guys that are system guys. They can turn into locker room leaders. You can build the culture the way that you want them to be. When you are just going out here getting free agents, these guys can come in and they're already rich. What I'm saying? They have this mind frame. Now, I'm not saying you got to toe the line and, what I'm saying, and, don't ruffle any feathers, but I do feel like when you are a free agent, you come in with this level of confidence, like, I didn't, what I'm saying, you didn't choose me, I chose you. It was a mutual agreement. And, sometimes guys can carry themselves like that and they come into a locker room and you combine that with a young player who probably is still starting out, easily impressionable. Now you have yourself a locker room full of guys that, with the bad mind frame. You know what I'm saying? That's why you need a collection of young guys that you can mold, and you combine that with guys that may be free agents but still have that leadership mind frame. And the Saints have done an outstanding job with that over the years, bringing in people like Jonathan Velma, bringing back a person like Malcolm Jenkins. Having a leader now in Demario Davis, who has kind of slowly transitioned to being in that unsung leader role like Drew Brees has been over the last couple of years. So, and you combine that with a lot of young talent to come in, because now you have a guy that's kind of headstrong like a CJ Gardner-Johnson, but he has leaders around him that can kind of reel him in, what I'm saying, to teach him to be himself, but at the same time, like, don't do it at the detriment of the team. You need that, and that comes through team building. So I do agree with that. As far as with the rebuild part, I don't agree with that. If you're a successful franchise, you've been winning, you trying to re-up and not rebuild. Niece, thank you very much for the 499. Says, I'm not worried about the future, to be honest. Loomis definitely sold his soul to the devil. He's going to find a way to make things work no matter what. Niece, without thank you very much for the 499, but without donating the next time, can you please comment and kind of specify what you mean by Mickey Loomis selling his soul to the devil? Because I'm not sure what you meant by that. But look, Mickey Loomis has done a really good job. Now, I don't think it was just Mickey. Jeff Ireland, Terry Fontenot, Kai Harley, the guy that's over the books, they have done a good job combined to try to make sure that they bring the best talent to New Orleans. Okay, so Mickey Loomis is doing exactly what other GMs around the National Football League are doing, and he is putting the team in the best position to win, and he has done that. And rather it be signing certain guys, restructuring contracts, turning money into signing bonus, turning base salaries into, what I'm saying, like extending them out. He has done that, and that's what you need to do. You have to win at any cost. I mean, this is a results league, right? It's what have you done for me lately? It's not about what you did last week or last month. You got to constantly give results. And if you don't, then people are going to be looking for someone else at your position. So he has to be as aggressive as he possibly can to bring guys in to make this team successful. So got to do what you got to do, man. It's the survival of the fittest, right? You know what I'm saying? The NFL is like survival, like you think about that, like if you ever watch Survivor, you got people, that you can do anything they can to try to get immunity. You know what I'm saying? Rather be stabbing the person that they probably were friends with throughout the show in the back, you know what I'm saying, cutting corners, doing what they have to do, in order for them to get ahead. I mean, it is a tough bulldog type business, a lot of things behind the scenes, like we don't understand as fans. I mean, these guys have to do certain things in order for them to stay ahead of the curve, for them to keep success and keep the wheels turning. I agree. We had season tickets when Montana was playing, and my dad won 2 Super Bowl tickets from a raffle of season tickets and went to the 49ers versus Broncos in the Superdome. Well, tragic, man. That's awesome right there. I know that was a great experience. But like I mean, to me, I just feel like Joe Montana is the greatest quarterback of all time. And maybe, I tell you all the time, man, I used to look up to my uncles, and my Uncle Isaac was a huge 49ers fan, and also my Uncle Jerry. So, I mean, they always, had the 49ers on the TV and always had Joe Montana on there. So, that was kind of all I used to watch, and, along with the Saints game. So, I mean, I'm probably kind of biased when it comes to that, but I mean, just Joe Montana, just as a whole, man, and all the things that he went through, I think you got to kind of grade on the curve when you're talking about some of those guys. Like you gotta, like you gotta think of the errors, right? I mean, when you think about it, when you're judging quarterbacks, it's kind of unfair to judge and say, well, Tom Brady is just the greatest quarterback ever, because you got to look at the era. Like I mean, you think about I don't know, Sammy Ba, what I'm saying, slinging Sammy Ba, right? You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, it couldn't, it didn't get no better than that. You know what I'm saying? Like at the quarterback position, but they went around that thing throwing the ball all over the place. It was 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Like they talk about the greatest game ever played was between the Colts and the Giants, but they had about 1 million run plays in that game. You know what I'm saying? Like it was, I think the score, what I'm saying, was like 13-6. You know what I'm saying? Like all they did was run the football in that game. So I think when you're judging quarterbacks, you got to judge based on the era and how the game was played. Like, so I think the whole who's the greatest quarterback ever is kind of ridiculous. I think when you're judging quarterbacks, you gotta kind of do it by era, like who played in that particular era. Like if you're judging the '70s, you're gonna talk about Terry Bradshaw. You're gonna talk about Roger Staubach type guys. You know what I'm saying? When you talking about the '80s, you're gonna do Montana. You're gonna do you're gonna do Elway. You're gonna do Marino, right? When you're talking about the '90s, you're gonna be talking about Favre, right? Manning, who came later on. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna be, and when you talk about the 2000 knots, you're gonna be talking about Brees and Brady and Manning, and you know what I'm saying, and then Rodgers, like and then 2010s, you got to do the Wilsons and and the Mahomes and the Jacksons. So when you start to look at guys like that, you got to judge according to their era. I think it's unfair to say, okay, man, Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time. Man, I think you have to look at the eras in which these guys played and the rules and how they were set up and the offensive play calling and how the game was structured. TJ, there's another side to the story, though. TJ, Joe Montana faced one-dimensional defenses. He would be picked off 5 times a game if he played today. Meanwhile, put Brady in the '80s, and he'll tear. Well, Josh, like I'm glad you mentioned that. You know what I'm saying? But that's kind of why I'm glad I kind of clarified that. It's because of the era in which they played in. So I just think that the whole debate itself is, to me, once again, the word of the day is sensationalism. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's ridiculous. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like judging Gorgeous George. I'm talking wrestling now, folks. It's like judging Gorgeous George against, I don't know, Kenny Omega or something like that right now. Some of you probably know who Kenny Omega is. As of right now, a lot of people consider Kenny Omega as one of the best wrestlers in the world. And then you have Gorgeous George, who probably just pranced around the ring, threw flowers out, you know what I'm saying, just did, headlocks for about 5 to 10 minutes and got a shower of booze, you know what I'm saying, versus now Kenny Omega, you know what I'm saying, putting people in snapdragon suplexes and you know what I'm saying, and and super kicks and whatnot, you know what I'm saying, and generating excitement that way. Like, it's crazy, right? You can't compare Gorgeous George in his era to what Kenny Omega is doing now. Can't judge Tom Brady for what, and also what Joe Montana was doing in his era. It's two different eras. So I do agree with that, Josh. '80s defense did the same thing on every play. Brady would destroy them. Well, like I said, I mean, the game evolves, right? Evolution is the key here, right? Like you got to look at the way the game is played. If that's the case, you think about, you know, I'm trying to think, like Bart Starr or something like that. Man, Bart Starr get killed in today's NFL. He'll probably get killed in '80s NFL, '90s NFL. So it's it's crazy. You know what I'm saying, that that we judge people like that is just absolutely ridiculous. Saints in 225. Thank you very much for the 199. Say, yo, did you guys hear about Chosen? Nah, what happened to Chosen? Nah, I didn't hear about Chosen. What happened to him? I'm trying to stroll down, trying to make sure I didn't. Tower said I missed the super chat. Tower not okay. Nah, I didn't hear about him. You know what happened to him? Is that a joke or we're being serious right now? Soldiers of the Rising King says Drew was balling before the injuries this season, though. I don't know about the balling part, but he had some good games. Another guy that gets overlooked in the greatest quarterback discussion is Otto Graham, seven-time league champion across two leagues, 10 years as an active player, and 9 championship appearances. Yeah, and that was another person, I was thinking of, in my head. I'm glad you mentioned his name. It was somebody that I was thinking about too, but his name was escaping me at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, definitely Otto Graham. Like I said, it's about eras. It's about the era in which you played in. Tyra, I don't know if you did a super chat or you was telling me about a super chat. But if I missed your super chat, just put your comment down below and I'll still read it. But thank you so much. The only pre-90s quarterback that would be a star in today's game is Marino. Yeah, I mean, I think Brett Favre would too, Josh. I think Brett Favre would too. I think Brett Favre would be a star in today's NFL, especially like that whole gunslinger deep ball mentality that everybody seems to love these days. So Rockwell X still concerned. What happened to Chosen? That's what I'm trying to see. I don't know if somebody said that, I don't know if somebody was saying that as a joke or not. I hope it is a joke. Where do you rank Drew Brees in the all-time quarterbacks? I think Drew Brees is a top five, about top five, top 10 quarterback. I think he is. I don't think he'll ever get the credit for being that because people are going to think they're going when they think about Drew now, they're just going to think about him patting the stats. You know what I'm saying? Kimo waiting on an answer. What happened? Yeah, I don't know what was up with that. Elway would do great today. Yeah, Elway would be a good. Jim Kelly would too as well. This is scaring me. What happened? Yeah, whoever made that, I need you to specify. I think Dan Fouts would do good as well. Yeah, Dan Fouts reminds me a lot of Drew Brees. You know what I'm saying? Like the guy that put up like the gaudy numbers, but the only difference is Drew Brees actually won a Super Bowl. Dan Fouts didn't. But he reminds me a lot of Drew. You know, he has beat the Panthers his whole career. That is for sure. Not necessarily. Not necessarily, man. Like I ain't about to say he just beat the Panthers. I mean, you look at the Panthers and Saints overall record. I want to say it's. I want to say it's. I want to say it's pretty even. The Saints got like a 1-game lead over them or something. Like the Panthers have been at one of those teams that always been neck and neck with the Saints over the last few years. How about Terry Bradshaw in today's era? I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. Terry Bradshaw was, to me, one of the first game managers out there. He was one of the first game managers, and when you have a defense, that had Mean Joe Green on there and Jack Lampert and Mel Blanc and all them boys, man. Like all you have to do is just go out there, score maybe 1-2 times. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it. Like, they gonna do the rest. They gonna do the rest. To be honest, I don't think Brady would be as successful playing back in the 80s when quarterbacks had to wear big boy pants every week versus today's game, whereby you can barely hit them and the refs throwing a flag. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I know he wouldn't play. He wouldn't have played as long as he did if he was playing in the 80s. What happened to Chosen? I need to know right now. I don't know if somebody was just joking or what about that. Saints need to let PJ go snatch Patrick Peterson, let Jared Cook go, and try to get Jimmy Graham. Well, to me, I just feel like I don't know, man. I'm just not so big on the free agents. I think that you need to. It's not going to solve your problem. It's not going to solve your problem. I want to say, you said, was that just a troll? And I hope so. How about Joe Namath? Joe Namath was okay. I just think that Super Bowl kind of made him more larger than life, and he was also the football version of the Nature Boy Ric Flair. So I think that just him being a playboy and and being one of the first high profile football players ever, I think it helped him. Roderick, thank you very much for $2. Says, what about Steve McNair and Randall Cunningham? Great quarterbacks, innovative quarterbacks to me. Steve McNair, who had a birthday not too long ago, may he rest in peace. He was an Iron Man. He was a tough son of a gun. And then you had Randall Cunningham, who, people, dubbed, according to Sports Illustrated back in the day, the ultimate weapon. You know what I'm saying? Like he was the guy that can do all these different things. He was the scrambling quarterback, the elusive quarterback, Taysom Hill or Cordell Stewart, either era. Well, I think they both the same type of quarterback. So, I mean, I'll roll with Taysom over Cordell. I'm gonna give Cordell Stewart some love because he is from New Orleans, but I'm gonna roll with Taysom. He put money on it. If it's a troll, delete the comment and block the troll. I don't even remember who it was who actually made that comment, to be honest with you. Terry Bradshaw almost threw as many interceptions as a touchdown. Yeah, him and Chuck Noll did not get along. Like, Chuck Noll did not really care for Terry Bradshaw, and the feeling was mutual. Brees erased Marino and Favre. I don't think so. I don't think he did. You're always gonna remember Dan Marino. You're always gonna remember Brett Favre. As long as Patrick Mahomes is generating success, they're gonna always compare him to Brett Favre. So as long as Patrick Mahomes is in the league, Brett Favre will never die. People need to stop. Randall Cunningham couldn't throw when his scrambling game was neutralized. Overrated. I'm gonna say when Randall Cunningham was playing for the Vikings, and when he left football for a couple of years due to that injury he had in Philly, when he came back, he was a better quarterback. He was more solid, and I want to say he won co-MVP that year, if I'm not mistaken. But I just think that the world wasn't really ready for Randall Cunningham just yet, and I don't think that coaches had the patience for that. They weren't ready for that type of innovation. I'm gonna read a few more, and then we're gonna get up out of here. Said Jimmy Graham ain't been right since Belichick exposed him. And Brady wants to erase Brees and raise the record higher. Won't happen though. I don't think he ever will erase Brees. I just think that I just want to say that what Drew Brees has done for the Saints organization, he can't be erased. He just can't. It's not like he was doing this with the Steelers or the Packers or something like that. Teams that are full of history and nostalgia. This is the Saints. The Saints, their long history has been losing. So I don't think just on that simple fact alone, being that quarterback, being the Saints' first ballot Hall of Famer ever. You know what I'm saying? That's going to legitimize him. You can't do that. And Chosen shows up and says, yo, ignore all the trolls. I'm good. People hitting me up asking if I'm okay. I'm fine. Who that? Yeah, man, I ain't know who that, glad to know that you okay, man. Somebody donated $2 and said, did I hear what happened to Chosen? I'm like, glad you're okay though, man. A lot of people in the chat feel the same way. You should you should see if you can get Favre on the show. He's a Saints fan. That's interesting, man. I'm having, I'm still trying to figure out how to get people on the show. A lot of times I ask them, and they're nice enough to respond to me asking, rather it's social media or whatever. Uh, I really don't know how to get in touch with them, so I'm pretty sure I have to get in touch with agents, because when I got Jerry Evans on the show, I had to get in touch with his agent to set it up for him, but Jerry Evans was like super nice. Zach Strief was like super nice. You know what I'm saying? So, and also Jermaine Bushrod. I didn't really have to go through certain channels to get those guys. I mean, I think with Jari, he was just, he was just kind of dotting his I's and crossing his T's or whatever, which I can understand. But if I wanted to get, Act Jari to be back on the show, I'm pretty sure he would do it again, and so would Jermaine and Zach as well. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think like with more of those, those modern guys, I might have to get in touch with agents and stuff like that. But I have to figure out how that process is done. I'm new to it, man. So still a small operation over here. All right. And finally, we'll just go ahead and finish it up. Where Keith says, I ain't trying to get Jimmy no more, but we do need a decent tight end. We got one. We got one already. And his name is Adam Troutman. Get that guy a chance. He proved that he was worth the draft pick. I've seen nothing but good development this past season. I think he started late because of all the things that were lacking: OTAs, minicamp, rookie training camp, what have you. So I think that we got one. I think we got one in the building. I think the Saints need to get his guy a chance. But I want to say thank you all for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. And also, this podcast is brought to you and sponsored by Manscaped.com. Go to Manscaped.com and use the promo code State of Saints, and you will save 20% on your item that you purchase. No matter if the item is big or small, man. There are items that are on that website as low as $8, probably lower than that. I want to say, I say about $6.99. Then you have like different packages that they actually have, but anything that you can purchase, if you like the items, feel free to do so. Support the channel, and just purchase the item, manscaped.com. Just use the promo code State of Saints, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com, search The State of the Saints Podcast, facebook.com, search The State of the Saints Podcast. Previous episodes available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Anchor FM. For all the wrestling fans out there, a new episode of the TJ Knows Wrestling Podcast will be uploaded later on today. We're going to be focusing on Stone Cold Steve Austin, arguably the greatest WWE superstar of all time. So we're going to be focused on Stone Cold Steve Austin today, and also just taking some of your questions about the world of professional wrestling. So TJ Knows Wrestling Podcast will be up today. Looking forward to hearing from some of the wrestling fans that are also Saints fans. And if you're not part of the TJ Knows Wrestling Podcast family or subscribe, please do. That's also on YouTube, youtube.com, search TJ Knows Wrestling. All right. Social media, follow me at State of Saints. That's my Twitter page. So I interact with you. We talk about sports, we talk about life, and that's my official page. So at State of Saints, check it out. Support the channel and all of the things that are coming up. We got some good things coming up, man. Got some some great sponsorships should be in the works right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm in negotiations with a few more. So thank you all very much for making this show as successful as it has been. And just keep on sending the questions, emailing me, state of the Saints at gmail.com, and also on Facebook, inbox me your show suggestions. I'm looking forward to hearing them. Till next time, all I got to say is